Okay, and welcome to this tutorial on creating the roof. So we'll start with a new part, and I'm going to click on part. Okay, so I've still got the sheet metal ribbon bar still active from creating the cab, so I can start off with creating the boss base flange straight up. So I'm going to click on the sheet metal base flange tab. I want it on the front plane, so I'm going to select the front plane there, and away I go. Rightio. So I want my arc and my to be symmetrical, but I'm going to put the origin at the bottom there. So I'm going to want a construction line for this particular task to get my design intent working. So I'm going to start off with the center line, but I want a mid center line, so I want it to be, again, symmetrical. So I'm going to click on the midpoint, but I want it to be a center line, so I need to, over here, click on for construction, so it creates a center line. On a horizontal, and I'm just going to click out here, press the escape key to end the line tool. So I want my arc to basically go from this point to this point with the center down the bottom here. So I'm going to start the 3-point or the center point arc, and I'm just going to place the center point somewhere down here, but notice how I get the snap going to the center there, and I click on that. Start out here, so I want my arc to go clockwise. I click on that point, drag across, and it should snap to the end of that because I've got that all symmetrical there. Hit the escape key to end the arc tool. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to show you, particularly here with dimensioning. So the design intent is for this dimension to be 350 to match our cutout in the cab there. So the arc radius is 350. The overall width is 138 and the length is 107. So I'll remember that for later. And it's 3 mil thick. So this is 138. So I'm going to click on this and go 138, and that has defined my sketch here. It's black. It's fully defined there. So that's as easy as it gets. Now for sheet metal, it's not that hard. Also, where I want to know what this arc length is. So to get a dimension that will tell me what that arc length is, I can start the Smart Dimension tool. Instead of just selecting the arc, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by selecting the point. So the start point and end point of the arc, it doesn't matter which way. Now it's just, at the moment, it just wants to give me the width or the length of that, that line there, but it's not what I'm after. What I want is the arc length. So if I hover over and get the arc itself as well, so 3 points, notice it'll give me an arc length. So this is this dimension here. So now it's asking for where to place it. So I'm going to place that there. Now, because my sketch was already defined, this is a driven dimension again. So it's a nice little calculator that I've got built in now. So that completes the sketch. So I can exit the sketch tool, and it jumps straight into the extrude or the base boss flange for sheet metal. Now this was 107 long. And let's make it symmetrical. So I'm going to put it mid-plane. So now it's creating this boss extrude through the mid-plane, and it's putting it in the middle of that there. Alright, and this should aid in the assembly of that, so we can just put it and mate it straight to the planes that we've got there. So that's got that. Now, direction-wise. Now, I want the overall length to be 138 there. So I do want this to be the outside. So if I go Control 1 just to give a front view, notice I want the extremities here to be 138. So if I flip the direction of the sheet metal to there, notice that it is slightly longer. So here, this is not going to meet my design intent of the overall length. However, I've got a contradiction in the fact that I do need the inside of this sheet metal to be 305 mil long. So I'm going to have a problem. Which do I follow? Do I follow the 138 and have it come in there? The easiest solution is for that. So I'm going to reverse this back, and I'm going to have to come back into my dimension here, and I'm going to actually add 3 mil, so that makes this 3 mil bigger, and that inside arc becomes still remains 350 there. So to keep my design intent of overall, I'm going to have to change this here. So I'm going to click the green tick. So as I was saying, if I click on the points here, so if I click on this outside edge point, and it's just giving me a bit of grief, it's not going to snap to the point easily. Click on that point, I'll zoom out, zoom back in on the right, hold down the control key, and get this other point here. Click here. So down in my status bar down the bottom here, the distance is 136.82. That is not it is different to the overall, so it is shorter, and that means that the outside edge, if I click on this time out here, hold down the control key and select the top one, try again. There's my 138. So my outside distance there is correct. However, if I select the arc here, notice how the radius inside is 147. That is not my design intent there. So I've got a problem here. I'm going to need to add 3 mil to my sketch. So if I click on the flange and I see this dimension here, I can click on the dimension and change that to 353. So that has boosted that up. It shouldn't have changed anything else, except for now, when I click on this, notice the inside arc is now 350. So that is the easiest way to work out what that distance there is. We'd have to do a bit of trig or have to get SolidWorks to do that calculation for us. But this happens to be the easiest, simply to add 3 mil to our radius there to meet our design intent. So that has created the roof. So I'm going to click save on that. Now this is subassembly 4, but it's part 2, so I'm going to click on here and change 1 to 2, and that makes that the roof. I click save. Alright, and that completes this part.